Hello, and welcome to the Rossaround Backstage podcast, talking with artists, technicians, musicians, producers, directors, and all the interesting and talented people that make it all happen for you. Hi, everybody. This is Ross Pallone with the Rossaround Backstage podcast, and I'm here today on the road in Augusta, Georgia, with Mary Broadbent. We are on tour with Chris Isaac, and Mary is the merchandise and VIP meet and greet person. She'll go into and tell us what that means. And she's also been a tour manager and a backline tech for other bands. She also has a lovely voice and sings. And she was in a band at one point, and maybe she'll share some information about that. But I've enjoyed getting to know Mary on this tour. And so one of the two women that we have on our 10-man crew, so she can tell us what it's like to be on the road with 8 other guys on a bus. So, Mary, let's talk about your early days and how did you get into this business? Seems kind of odd.
Oh, well, that's a great question to ask me, Ross, from Rossaround. I got into the business basically, first and foremost, I was in a band in high school. I did a lot of choir and choral ears and other kind of activities around theater and drama and entertainment. When I was around junior, senior year of high school, I took this video editing class, and I got really, really interested in it, and editing and all that kind of stuff. And then I thought, that'd be a great career, like just making music videos. So I went to school at Emerson College in Boston and kind of focused my attention towards becoming a video editor. When I was in Los Angeles, about 3.5 years later, I interned at this music video production company called The Oil Factory, which mainly at the time housed a lot of directors who handled music videos for No Doubt, Garbage, Madonna, and Black Eyed Peas, as well as they did commercials for other like smaller companies or bigger companies like like Ford or Pepsi or something. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I was out on a video shoot as the PA, which is a production assistant. Same thing, same jargon, same road jargon as we use. Right. And this lady, and it was for Ryan Adams, and I was just good on my feet and running around and everything like that, and that feedback went back to the office, and this woman, Justine Smith, who was a video director in-house at the time, she just sort of put it on my ear. Maybe, I'm going to submit your resume for this Christina Aguilera tour as a tour assistant. That was the first I'd ever heard about touring with bands, and I became immediately intrigued and like, oh my God, like this is a career you can do. You can go on tour with bands. This is so cool. So I thought that was really neat. I kind of had that thought in the back of my head. And then I just kept on, doing my thing, trying to, finish school. And then I did a couple PA gigs here and there. And then I got a gig on this show, Clean Sweep, on TLC, I think. And I think it was like the second show where we were just like cleaning out someone's house and something. And I was like, I just happened to be working on drums that were in this house that were just like sort of a kind of just put into that house as sort of like a created plot point because they needed
a prop?
Yeah, basically, because in that episode there was they were trying to get this guy to, I guess, conform to like being married and giving up some of his like delusional, not delusional, but man stuff. Yeah, I guess that's a good word. Yeah. So, like, I have these drums, I'm going to play these drums. And the wife was like, no. But that was just like a built-in storyline they were trying to create to make the show more interesting, the episode more interesting.
Yeah, so reality TV, not really reality TV, right?
Exactly. Anyway, so I was kind of like working on these little drums here and there. And I was just thinking like, man, I really miss like doing music stuff. And then soon after that show ended. And I was just thinking, maybe I should just focus my energy on working with bands again, And so I started looking for gigs where I could be like a stage tech, or I could get on the road with bands, or I could just like be involved in any kind of festivals. And I just looked to Craigslist when it was legitimate at the time and just started like typing in keywords like roadie, stagehand, stage tech, like all these kind of words. And then eventually...
so this was before BobNet.
Way before BobNet, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Way before BobNet. So I got on tour with like a no-name band for about a month and kind of earned my keep a little bit that way. So that was my first experience working on tour with a bunch of dudes. And
Well, now, what was your job on that?
on that, I was just sort of I was helping with driving. I was just helping with setting up the gear. I was selling the merch. I was just an all-around sort of assistant to the band. But I was like 23 at the time, and they were like, I think 32, 33, like 10 years older than me. And it was a fun time. I mean, it got to be a long tour, and we played a lot of shitholes, but
Were you in just a van?
Yeah, we were in like a mom and pop soccer van type situation. Like the ones that are like old school, that are like big and like they kind of look like a pig, almost the body of a pig on the outside. They have like the curtains on the windows and shit where you
and
feel
some
like you're in a
captain's
house,
chairs
but
inside.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So we were in those types of situations, and then then that tour ended, and I went home, and then I put that on my resume, and then I kept on looking for bands, and then I just kind of lucked out, and the next gig I got was being a merchandise manager and a truck driver for Big Bad Voodoo Daddy. So that was kind of my big
What kind of a truck
break.
were you driving?
I was driving. I'm glad you asked this question, Ross. It was a Penske truck, or though sometimes it could be a budget, depending on how my tour manager felt that week when he rented the trucks.
But it was a pretty big truck.
Yeah, so
'Cause you were carrying all the gear?
Yeah, I was
Wow.
carrying all the gear. So I remember the first day I went to Third Encore, and I saw Doug, and who works there, and who else was there? I think, oh God, I can't remember her name. She was so sweet. This woman, anyway, they both met. I was like, I'm here to meet the tour manager for Big Bad Voodoo Daddy. And they're like, well, who are you? And I was like, and then the tour manager, Brian, pulled up, and he's like, oh, she's with me. He showed me where the lockers were, and like told me what I had to do, which is basically rent a truck and drive it to Third Encore, and then just load it up with all of this band's gear, and then, strap it down tight, and then just head somewhere in the country aimlessly, and then get there on time for load-in, and...
Well, being that this is not TV.
Yeah.
And people can't see you.
Oh.
You're a little...
Yes.
You're not...
I'm 5'2".
You're not somebody that you would picture as a truck driver.
Yeah, I know. It's I enjoy telling people that I've driven trucks because I find it very comical.
Yeah.
And very unexpected. But yeah, I mean, it's actually really funny when you go out and you're in like a social setting and say you're home for a while. And for me, like if I wanted to go out, I might like wear a dress or makeup or put my hair down and, just kind of be casual and be wearing my heels. And then someone's asking me, oh, so what do you do for work? And I say, oh, I work with bands. And like, what do you do? I drive a truck. They're always just kind of like, huh. I feel like half the time when I tell people that, they don't believe me. Because
you just don't look the part.
I look off-brand when I'm telling that story. But, when you're, wearing all blacks like we do on the road and you're wearing, sneakers and stuff, you look a little bit more fitting to the character.
Right. You shocked us the other night when you showed up for dinner and you weren't wearing all black and you actually had a dress on. That was different.
Well, there is actually a really good one of so there's this guy in Big Bad Voodoo Daddy. His name is Scotty Morris. He's the lead singer. He told me one time, years after I had finished working for that band, but I think I just came back either to visit and see a show or I was working a one-off with them. He said, one of my favorite memories of you, Mary, is that we were out somewhere in probably Colorado or someplace cold. And he said... And you and I met in the lobby, and like you were asking, I asked you what you're doing. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm meeting everybody for like a movie in a little bit, and you were like, and he said, oh yeah, okay, cool. I'll see you down here in 15 minutes. So then he came back downstairs, and then he said, and you came back downstairs, and you were wearing little high heels, and you were just all dressed up, and you were all, I'm going out with my boys, and I'm all dressed up, and
totally out of character.
Yeah, and it was all in the snow, and he said that's his favorite memory of me is just getting dressed up for those guys and going out with them to the movies.
All right.
But yeah, I mean that doesn't happen as much as it used to. I think because I've just become a little bit more minimalistic with packing.
Yeah.
So
right. There's only so much stuff you could pack.
Yeah.
Like I used to always bring a sport coat with me.
Yeah.
I don't do it anymore. I just go, hell with it. I just don't have an extra couple pounds to waste on something that I might wear once. Maybe.
Yeah. I always have this idea of what I should bring on tour, and then you're on tour and you're like, fuck, man, I should actually have brought in less. Or you think, in my situation right now, like, oh, I'm gonna go home on this day so I can bring all these things with me, and then you realize, oh wait, maybe I'm going somewhere else instead. And then you're like, fuck, I can't bring anything with me. I have to, like, mail it all home or something. And you kind of make that mistake.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
you
have the weight restrictions when you fly. Yeah.
Exactly. And sometimes you just collect more stuff than you need to on the road. But you don't really anticipate doing that or plan on it. It just kind of happens. So.
Yeah. Okay, so so let's go back. We got a little off track, and that's my fault. But that's
right.
okay. So you got the first gig with that band, and then the next one is Big Bad Voodoo Daddy?
Yeah. So,
that was
the first gig was with a no-name band, and then my big break, as I like to call it, was with Big Bad Voodoo Daddy. And I was driving a truck around for them and selling merchandise for them, and that was for about 2.5 years. And during that time, I met this guy who's still a huge influence to me and mentor, Brian Stanley, and I just absorbed everything he did and how he handled and delegated and managed his crew and his band as a tour manager, production manager, front of house, engineer, and kind of have always just like thought about him in like whenever I'm doing stuff or when I'm acting as a tour manager nowadays, because he was just my first, I guess, person who I'd seen in that position, and I just absorbed him like a sponge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, he must have been good at what he does.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he is. He's not dead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at that time. Yeah.
Well, he's still in that position too. He's still the band's TM and front of house, and I think now he's also manages the band as well. So yeah, he's just always been a big influence, and he's always just so on top of technology and what's the latest craze. I think even before Master Tour was hugely known, he was on that. Before At Venue was hugely known, he was on that. You know, he's just always trying to keep his pulse to all the technology and other, like, the amenities that are available to tour managers. And he always susses out what's the best thing for him personally, and raves about it, you know. So he's always been a great guy and a huge influence for me as a tour manager or as a person who's on tour. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, a lot to learn now, isn't there, out on the road?
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best tours are the ones where you have learned stuff from your job and from your team, and you've also had a great time, and you also want to come back to that tour. Those are the best tours completely, because I feel as though when there's nothing to learn, sometimes there's no point in taking the job, you know what I mean? If you're not learning anything about yourself, or you're not like gaining a more arsenal to take with you further down the line for your own like benefit, you know? Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I think I always walk away from a tour and I learn something. So
all right, that's
my favorite thing, I think.
So what'd you do after Big Bad Voodoo Daddy then?
Well, I was with them for 2.5 years, and then I actually, for a moment, they work sporadically. They're weekend warriors, and they're always like jumping from like different parts of the country, doing like 3 to 4 days in a row of shows, and then maybe doing one-offs here and there for months at a time. One time we had a lull in our schedule, and my friend kind of put me in touch with this person who was looking for a merch manager for for Flogging Molly. So I went out with them for about a week in California, because their merch person just sort of said, fuck this, I quit. Because they have a shit ton of merchandise that they're always selling with their tour. Because those guys, they work so hard. They're always touring. They're just like always nose to the grindstone, you know, whether it's in Europe or whether it's in North America, they're always fucking working. So, and their fans are extremely loyal, always come out to all their shows and always bring so much energy to the shows as well as the merch booth. So it kind of made sense maybe why that person would have like quit that gig. Mm-hmm. So I got hired on to do that. So I did it for a week, and then the band, they had somebody in mind to actually go with them to Europe, but that person ended up not being available, so they asked me to go do, I think, a month run in Europe with them. So I went out with them for a little bit, and that was a really great experience. And I met this guy through that tour named Aaron Gloss, who is a buddy of mine. He now currently tour manages and does front of house and production manages Fits in the Tantrums. And then after that run with Flogging Molly, I was with Big Bad Voodoo Daddy for another year, and then I kind of just wiped my hands of that band because at that point I was just done. There was no movement, there was no growth within that company for my position. There was no other positions available for me to jump into. So I just felt as though I needed to either, like, I don't know, stay there, which I wanted to do, but it just wasn't, I don't know, it just didn't make sense to me for what I wanted, for all I wanted to learn. So I left and started working as a tour manager for some indie bands. And some marketing companies too. So
the experience that you had from working for like the Big Bad Voodoo Daddy, that's where you learned, even though you weren't doing the job, you learned about tour management from watching the other person. Yeah,
I learned about it. I learned about how Brian talked to promoters and managers and his crew, and how he, handled logistics, and he handled organization and everything like that. And just, I think a big thing with tour management is personality and the way you communicate with the band and with the crew. And you just have to always keep in mind that your personality is sort of like the keystone to everybody else on the tour and how they're going to be when it comes to like feeling how comfortable the tour is, how the tour is going. Is it going well? Because if the tour manager's concerned and that's really like apparent, then other people are going to pick up on that like a little antenna and get a little worried in some capacity or another.
And he wasn't just, like on the tour that we're on right now, we have a tour manager. He just deals with the band.
Yeah.
We have a production manager. He just deals with the crew. But this guy was dealing with everything. He was like one of those all guys, like I've been before, where you are everything.
Yeah.
So, and that's a much more difficult position to be in.
It is, but the way that both, I'd say, Jan, who is our production manager on Chris Isaak, and Doug Casper, who is our tour manager on Chris Isaak, they handled themselves the same way that Brian does, where they don't let anything affect their personalities, and they always keep this front of like calm or like jovialness or joking around or making sure that like that they're having fun on the road as well as doing their job. So you should too. Because I feel like some people, when you work with them, and I've never had somebody directly, but I've heard stories, when people take things too seriously, they lose the heart of the whole idea of like touring, because touring is supposed to be a job, but we're all here to have fun. It's all to have fun. It's entertainment. That's what the word entertainment is. It's like fun. Everybody wants to have a good time, and we're here to sort of help, that happen, execute that whole mission of like making the band have fun, making them put on a good show, making the audience have fun, because those are the people who've paid to see, like, have a good night. They want entertainment,
Yeah.
So it all sort of, it trickles down from the top, and to me, tour management and production management, it's at the top. So when they're at least sending out that message of like, we're having a good time, we're not taking ourselves too seriously, we're, trying to be organized and do our job, but we're not going to be hard asses, like, that means everybody else can like lighten up a bit and just relax but still do their job and be professional. I think there is a balance that you can have between both those things.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very insightful. So, it is. I mean, that is all so true. And, the band doesn't want to walk in to the sound check and see a bunch of guys that are all unhappy.
Exactly. Because they'll pick up that mood real quick.
Yeah, really. Sure.
Yeah.
And especially don't want the artist to see that.
Yeah.
Of course not. Well, part of it with this camp is that everybody in this crew is excellent at their job. So
yeah,
Jan really doesn't have to worry. He's like, and when Jan, the production manager, doesn't have to worry, then Doug doesn't have to worry because he knows that everything's handled. So yeah, a lot of it becomes everybody's responsibility to be professional too.
Yeah, no,
make
I
it good.
agree. I think it does, though, take a lot of energy to always, if say you have personal shit going on, like for those positions that are higher up, you still have to put that aside and put on like a happy face and like,
Yeah.
you know, you have to always like emit this energy of like, you know, upbeatness or nothing's going wrong in the day or there's nothing to worry about, because that, you know, say something is going wrong in like audio department or something else is going wrong with lighting or whatever, you don't want like any kind of extra energy that's negative to feed into what you're dealing with already, because you're already, depending on how long you've been on the road, you might be like, well, the show's going to go on anyway, so you just like, you know, let it slide off your back. But some people don't handle that, you know, that way. Some people get wrapped up in those emotions at that moment, and like if there's anything else that's going on that's negative, they take that with them and they use it as arsenal to, you know, fire up the way they feel and just like use it as an excuse to feel worse, you know?
Yeah.
So it's
It is very important for everybody to be, and it helps everybody because, you know, we are on the road for, like on this run, we were on for 5.5 weeks.
Yeah.
And, you know, that starts to get to be kind of a long time. And people can get depressed or, you know, miss their spouse or get homesick or whatever. Other people don't, but some people do.
Yeah, it's true.
And
I think you just have to keep in mind if you, that like, oh yeah, everything does have an expiration date. So with touring, you'll have an expiration date soon. You know, we were all sitting at dinner tonight. Me, Dave Pallett, who's monitors for Chris, and then Joe Haramet, who does guitar, our bass tech and keys, and then Lisa, who does our wardrobe. We're all sitting there just joking around, and I was just thinking, like, oh, what are we going to do? And when we're not around each other, who are we going to bounce all these stupid jokes off of each other with? You know, and I mean, I know that everybody has their own thing going on. You know, Dave has a family, and so does Lisa when they get home, and I'm sure they miss them and everything, but they don't not express that they're excited to go home because they do miss their family, but they also don't like sulk or like brood about being out here on the road. You know, they're excited to still be out here, but you know, they also like, they enjoy the company they keep, and they do realize how special that is, because sometimes you get rotten apples on the road and then, or bad tours. And I mean, I haven't really suffered too much from that, but you know, like it's nice that that people appreciate what they have, and you know, they do miss it. They know they'll miss it when it's gone.
Yeah, but you know, most people have something else planned.
It's true.
So you know, the next part of your life is going to be, you're going to be home for a little bit, and then you're going to be out on the road again, whether it's with this band or some other band.
That's true.
Yeah, and when you say okay to go out and do the tour, well, you've decided that you're going to go out for the entire tour until it's end. So you shouldn't be grumpy a week before it's done, you know?
No, you shouldn't. Some people, I think they just get like a weird itis. Like I knew this one guy where he was happy at the beginning of the tour, and then in the middle of the tour he was a bit broody, and then towards the end of the tour he got happy again because he knew it was ending.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how his whole roller coaster of emotions went. But I don't know. I think sometimes you just have to tell yourself to wake up and be happy.
Yeah. I mean, this is the path you've chosen. So
yeah.
Here it is.
Also, I mean, you know, there's a lot worse jobs out there, and if you're someone who's new to touring, I love looking at like people who are new to touring, or sometimes when I'm like listening to guests or fans, and they're so excited about the job you do and all that kind of stuff, and them saying, oh, it's a really cool job. It does get, it's a little bit jaded. I get a little jaded hearing that, but I mean, sometimes I do let that sink in, and I do realize like I should really just listen to these people because they don't have the same type of job I do, and not saying mine is better than them, but it is different, and I should be thankful for what I have been dealt. You know, because
I think anytime we're working, we should always be thankful.
Oh yeah, anytime we're working.
You know, just
because we could be sitting at home not working.
That's true. That happens.
And it does happen.
Yeah.
It does happen.
So after Big Bad Voodoo Daddy, and then you left, and then you came back, and then you did some tour management with the smaller indie bands. So is that where you learned how to like set up drums and learn about the teching part?
Well, actually,
how did you learn that?
So when I left Voodoo Daddy, that was around 2007. I did mainly tour management for a slew of different organizations. Some were indie bands, and some were marketing companies. I worked at Center Staging in around 2009, I want to say. And I really wanted to be, when I was hired there, I really wanted to work in the drum department because I wanted to learn about teching and drums and setting up, as well as like guitars and keyboards and all that kind of stuff. But they put me in the office as a secretary, which I kind of was a little bit bummed out about because it was just menial work that I just found kind of... I didn't really learn anything there. Nothing that I already knew.
Not about what you wanted to learn.
It didn't interest me. And it just kind of was sad because I knew that I felt as though if I was a dude, I would have gotten an opportunity to work in like the shops with the guys. But I mean, maybe the pay scale was better, I suppose. But like the exposure to the work I really wanted to learn wasn't there for me. So I worked there for a little bit. And then actually, I worked with Fits and the Tantrums for a little bit as a TM assistant, merch manager again. And the tech they had, he would sometimes let me help him and assist him almost to a point where he would trust me enough to like help him with like teching the saxophones on stage to the performing artists, or he wanted me to help him assist with delegating how to break down drum sets and stuff. Sometimes, not all the times, it's happened like maybe like 3 times on tour with the local crew. I actually went back to Big Bad Voodoo Daddy. Brian asked me back to be a stage manager, guitar tech, I think because he just saw via social media how dedicated I was to still being on the road and learning and wanting to like still stick with that path. Because at that point, it was 2014, and it was about 7 years since I'd been with them. Mm-hmm. So he took me back under his wing, and he had me be their stage manager, guitar tech, and backline drum tech. And I just learned how to set up drums. It wasn't foreign to me though, because I had a drum kit when I was in after college, and I would set it up in the garage and like play it and everything like that. So like it's not like I never touched a drum kit before. Right. But I just got more familiar with certain things about, with setting it up, with running sound or running like triggers and things like that. Uh-huh. So, but yeah, that kind of occurred again with Big Bad Voodoo Daddy like 7 years later.
Yeah, well, that's cool. So they were willing to teach you. Yeah,
he was willing to teach me and pay me and, basically give me a job to do something to cover for their normal guy for about 6 months. But yeah, then after that, I've gotten other opportunities since then. After going back to Voodoo Daddy, it was 2016, and I worked with the Mowglis and tour managed them and did backline tech. So I'd set up their drummer, Andy Warren's drum kit every day for shows. And that was always, the whole job itself was just like, it's a lot. It wasn't always easy, but I had a good person, two great people on crew with me who are willing to do the work. And sometimes, in some of these club settings, because that's the venues that the Mowglis play, like 600 to maybe 700 caps at most. You're not really getting a lot of local crew to help you. You don't really have a large budget, so you're doing a lot of the work yourself, setting up all the drums, setting up all the mics, pushing all the gear in and out, So it was an agreement that I would handle all the backline and do all that stuff, and that's how me and the front of house person operated, where we just would push everything in and set it all up. And our merch manager, he would also help us with that stuff. So,
So it's kind of like all hands on deck. Everybody was helping out.
Everybody was very involved with
it wasn't separated jobs, kind of like what we have.
It wasn't. It's not as separated in that respect. Wow. Is it going to be good for your audio?
We're going to have some fun.
It's raining, guys.
Yeah, there is some thunder. There's a hurricane off the coast of East Coast, and I think we're getting the edge of it.
Yeah.
Here.
But I mean, even though the workload was sometimes a lot, like I wouldn't have had it any other way because I personally always prefer hands-on experience and learning and stuff like that. And even though with Voodoo Daddy I did learn how to do one band a certain way, it's good to still open up the possibility of learning how to handle a different drummer a different way, or a different band or a different tour a different way. So
they're all different.
They're all different.
Everything is different about every tour.
Yeah. I just recently worked with this other band as a TM backline tech called Ocean Park Standoff. And they're a really great band. It's a 3-piece band. And the funny thing is that I didn't have to set up their drum set at all because their drummer was very hands-on and wanted to do things his own way. And he had a lot of playback and Ableton stuff involved, so he always handled that himself. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of nice. So I would focus on setting up or helping set up the keyboards and the guitar pedals and the guitars for the other 2 band members. But that was also just a situation where that band was probably the first one I've ever worked with where everybody was involved with setting up. And the band felt inclined to help set up. They didn't want to step away from the job and have somebody else do it completely for them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who knows if that will probably change in the future for that band. But, you know, it was just very nice to see how much teamwork was involved with that band when it came to touring. So. Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah, it's cool. And all that's really more what you really like is being involved with the stage.
Yeah, well, I think there's just such a separation from... I mean, I've had just a lot of experience in the past with doing merchandise, and then I've also had a taste of what it's like to work with a band directly as a tour manager or, you know, be a backline tech. And there's just a different element to that where... you're more part of the team. And as much as people say, you know, oh, you know, everybody's part of the team or something like that, it's like, you know, because I don't see you guys after load-in after a certain point. I'm not with you around you all day. My schedule is completely different as a merch person. It's just so much more involved. I feel like there's more camaraderie. I get to know people better. I feel like there's just more of a team vibe when you're on stage and you're working with other people. Like, mm-hmm. And that's the element that I always crave and I always miss when I'm not involved in any position on stage.
Mm-hmm. You're the merch person on the Chris Isaak tour, but you also handle the VIP aspect of it. And you want to tell the audience what exactly that means.
That means I lost a bet, everybody.
Well, now I watched you go through your routine the other day.
Yeah, that's taken 3 years to actually get down
well,
correctly.
You've got it down. You handled those people so well. I was really impressed. I was just sitting there. I was going, dang, listen to Mary. She's got it together. You're telling... And if you take that iPhone out and take a picture with it, I'm going to take it away from you. It's like, wow, Mary, you go get them.
Yeah, well, that's just been a new thing I've installed. And I basically just tell people, because I have this whole spiel that I run off to them with a couple rules that they have to know or remember that's listed in their little agreement that they get when they go to meet Chris. But one of them is that I'm the only person who's supposed to take pictures during the whole meet and greet process. And a lot of people, even though they're not 5, decide to not listen to that rule, and they bust out their iPhones or cameras or something. Like the other day, I was looking at pictures, and we had maybe a 20 group audience, and we were in Annapolis, right? Mm-hmm. So I was going through pictures, and I was going to put a lot of them online or whatever. And this one dude, who I thought was really sweet and really kind when I met him, so I remembered him specifically. And I saw pictures during the whole meet and greet process, especially the part where Chris comes out and he does this special little set for meet and greet people. He had his phone out the whole fucking time. And I just got so mad. I almost wanted to, like, not put his picture up online, but really, like, that's not
So at the time, you didn't see him with the phone?
No, I didn't, because it's so hard, because I'm already on my camera focusing on Chris, trying to make sure I get shots of him, you know, and it can't really divert too much much attention from that.
Yeah.
So I don't see other people really when they're pulling out their cameras and taking pictures. And anybody who's listening to this right now, if you guys think this is an opportunity to take out your camera and pull one over on me, I will mess you up.
Yeah, I believe you will. So let's tell people what this whole thing is. So when people buy tickets to the concert, they have an option to buy the VIP pass.
Is this going to be a VIP Nation plug? Should we get paid for this?
Well, I don't think most people don't realize that this is even a thing.
Well, I think VIP Nation's been around for a while, and I know that they do have tickets and meet and greets offered up to a lot of different artists, not just Chris. But yeah, it's a package you can either purchase when you buy the tickets initially, or you can upgrade to this option after you say you've already bought the tickets, and then maybe you've just weaseled a little bit more money aside. You can pay for the option on top of your regular ticket.
And that gives them the right to come in.
Yeah, they can come in
an
early.
hour or so before the show. And they get however many people buy the tickets. There could be 10 people, could be 20 people. Yeah. And they get a special... Chris and a couple members of the band come out.
Yeah.
And entertain them for 15, 20 minutes or something, and get to have you take pictures of them, and then...
Yeah,
right?
They get a goodie bag. They get pictures with Chris, but yeah, over recent years, I guess I've just become a little bit more liberal with what I've said to people, because I do notice that unless you put your thumb, or is it thumb down? Is that the expression? Or your finger down, or your hand down, or I don't know, something down. People tend to break the rules. So when I just say, oh, if you take your iPhone out, don't do that, or whatever. So now I just say, like, yeah, if you take your iPhone out, like, I'm going to ask you to put it away, but if I see it again, you're out, Mm-hmm. And it's just, I mean, I've had zero problems when I say that. But also sometimes these people, they need to be wrangled a little bit, because larger groups are just always insane, and they're always not listening, and they're not
And they're really
attention.
excited, most of them.
They're really
excited to be there for that.
Yeah.
Most of them are really diehard fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them are.
But
some of them are nice. I like some of them.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah. Some of them I see, and like I've gotten to know a couple fans over the years, and they're all really sweet. Sometimes I just don't. I'm just so busy with, the merch duties or whatever other duties I have to do. I don't really have time to like chit chat with them, but I do find them to be sweet people.
So after the meet and greet is over, then you upload these pictures to the internet, and then if they want to purchase those pictures, then...
Well, no, they don't purchase them. They just get
them.
to download them.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's really hard because I have to switch gears so fast and like start selling merchandise. So sometimes I'll try and upload them after the show or during the show that's actually happening. So while you guys are actually doing your job, I'm sitting there at merch uploading pictures to the internet, or trying to, or editing them if they need to be edited, which a lot of the times I do edit them just to give them a little bit more of a pop. Mm-hmm. And then putting them online. But, I'll get interrupted at merch because I have to sell shirts and stuff like that. So... Yeah, it's...
So people understand, as a merchandise person, you're usually, like, out in the lobby. Mm-hmm. And...
glamorous people, I know.
Somebody's got to do it, and it's a good thing. A lot of fans want to buy the T-shirts and the CDs and whatever else it is that you're selling. Mm-hmm. And somebody has to do it, so it's just another one of those jobs on the road that has to be taken care of by somebody.
Like I said, I lost a bet.
Yeah.
But it's a fun job. It's fun.
So what do you think after... Well, now we're about... I think 9 days away from finishing this leg of the tour, and then
you are. I get to leave early.
Oh, you're leaving early. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I'm leaving early.
Oh,
I'm leaving
sad.
early.
Now, so then what? Then what are you going to do?
Well, I'm leaving early to actually go join another tour. I'm going to go jump on tour with Plain White Tees as their drum tech.
Oh, okay. And that's really more what you'd like to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I worked with those guys actually a few times earlier this year as a drum tech. I did two one-offs with them back-to-back weekends. And then it was funny because the band I mentioned earlier, Ocean Park Standoff, I was their TM for Ocean Park Standoff, but we were on tour supporting Plain White Tees. Mm-hmm. So I got to know those guys even better because we did a 2-week tour together. So it's kind of nice that they asked me to come back and work with them in the future, because I didn't think I was going to get the opportunity to do that, because they have a couple other crew members that are kind of in line first and foremost before myself to do the drum tech gig. So, but I don't know. I just keep on getting thrown back into their camp like a boomerang.
Well, they must like you. They must see the value in having you out there.
I hope so.
Well, they wouldn't be hiring you if they didn't think that you could do the job. So,
yeah, I think they do like me.
So
I like them. They're sweet.
A curious thing about this whole thing and talking to you is that, on the road, there's not that many women on the road. So how is it? Do you feel comfortable and everything being on the road? Your male-dominated thing. The whole band is men. The crew, there's 10 of us, and only 2 of you are women. Yeah,
me and Lisa.
You and Lisa. Lisa does the wardrobe, and you're doing this. Has it been, cool for you?
I don't mind it. I mean, I don't think I've ever really minded going on tour with dudes. When I was on tour with Voodoo Daddy, there was actually... we were on a bus, and buses only fit normally unless you have a what do they call it, a star bus or something. The one that you normally just have 12 bunks. If you have a star bus, you might have like a bus or a bed in the back lounge,
right?
But and there was 13 of us, so at first Brian was kind of thinking, oh, maybe, you can rent a car and drive behind the bus.
Oh, sure.
And then you can, get a hotel room every night. No. And I just sort of said, no, I'll just sleep on the couch.
Jeez. No, that's wrong.
Well, I think, but maybe he just felt like he didn't know what my comfort level was being around dudes. But I've never really had an issue with being on the road with guys. It's actually kind of nice because I've always had guy friends growing up since high school, and I just enjoy their energy and their company. And I've had girlfriends too, but I think I've had close girlfriends and then just a lot more guy friends, just, in a different way, I guess.
Actually, sitting here thinking about this, while you're talking about this, I'm thinking, well, that's probably a lot easier than being on the road with 13 girls.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm trying to think. I did a tour earlier this year with Betty Who, and I think we had 6 girls, and I want to say 3 boys, 3 maybe 4 boys. There was more girls than guys, and it was fine.
That was all good too, huh?
Wait, hold on. I forgot two guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so it was about equal, but still, it was still a good energy. Yeah, I mean, it was fine. I think it just depends, maybe on the personalities that come to the table more so than the actual gender of those said people. Because we've had instances where. You just have rotten apples and it doesn't matter their gender. It's just, just bad energy is bad energy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
I only brought that up because I'm the father of 3 girls, and I know how much drama girls can be, But maybe when everybody's out here, with the same goal and they want to be on the road and stuff, maybe it changes that whole vibe, and it doesn't come into play as much.
Yeah, I think the work versus family dynamic is also a different element in itself, because I know that there are times when I'm with my family and I can revert to being more of Mary, who's with her family, who might act a certain way, maybe more grumpy when I get up, maybe more whiny if I'm not I don't know, watching the program I want to watch and my dad's watching golf all day.
Okay.
Versus,
Yeah, well, that's definitely a different atmosphere for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, versus when you're on a bus and you're really not expecting to even watch television, or you have to just put up with the fact that sometimes people are going to be crossing your path constantly when you're trying to get from the front lounge to the back lounge, or maybe somebody threw your food away. You just kind of have to throw your hands up and just kind of let things happen and not be so tied to like being in control. And I think that that's the main thing that some people have an issue with on tour is they have to surrender their control. And I think that's hard for a lot of people, especially if you're used to being in control of every aspect of your life, because that's not something that's really the way of it on tour. I mean,
you got to be flexible.
Even as a tour manager, you advance everything. You can put it on master tour. You can design the whole day as much as you want, but you can't really be set on all that. Like, there's other elements that might take place that you have no control over. Your plane might be late, or your set time might be pushed back, or somebody might break something on the road, or like your bus is going to break down. That happened on our tour, so you just have to roll with the punches and like have a good attitude about it,
Yeah. Well, you have learned, haven't you? Well, that's great.
Yeah.
So you envision staying on the road like your entire career? And what's your end goal? Would you like to do you want to be like the tour manager of a, big rock act, or what do you want?
I would love to be a tour manager. But I mean, I do enjoy being a backline tech.
I think the money's better as a tour manager.
No, I'm sure it is. I think I would love to try doing one or the other, because I've only ever... Well, I have just done TMing, and I've had other jobs where I'm a TM and a tech. I would love an opportunity... Well, no, I have had an opportunity to do that with Voodoo Daddy, where I'm just a tech. Being a tech's kind of fun, because you just, like, your job is primarily at the venue, and then you just do the job, and then you walk away, and then you have your days off to do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you enjoy your days off, I know.
I do.
You're always going out and doing stuff, and I think that's cool. I think that you should do that, especially when you're younger. Places to see.
I feel like, a while ago, I just kind of realized I can't waste every day. Even when I'm at home, I might take a couple days to veg out, but I really try and get out and make the most of my days, because you just don't know what life's going to throw at you, and you should always try and get out there and enjoy life and things and events and stuff with people or by yourself. And you can't, when you're on the road, you can't get used to like relying on other people to be available for you to go have a good time. You kind of have to make a good time happen for yourself. And if other people want to join, awesome.
I think that is all of life, actually.
It's true. It is.
Yeah.
It is very true.
Wait on somebody else to make you happy.
Yeah, no, I agree. I actually started traveling whenever I'm not touring. I've actually started making a point to travel every year, every other year to a different place, so that I'm growing and learning in a different way that's outside of just the touring world, or, just taking advantage of, just getting out there and doing something with myself. So.
Well, and we have lots of opportunities on the road where you're getting to go to all these different cities, and there's opportunities. There's things to see and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think I kind of now lately, because I'm doing this podcast, it takes up my days off.
Yeah.
So I'm not really going out and doing stuff where I used to do that more. Plus, if in the United States, it's all kind of the same. There's some different stuff, but when I go over to Europe or something, then I do go out a lot.
Yeah, I enjoy
see
Europe.
Things. Yeah.
Well, you're not missing much in Augusta, I'll tell you that much.
No, probably not. Oh, now the poor Augusta people are going to be offended.
As Cher Horowitz would say, this place is screaming for a makeover. It's a Clueless reference for anybody who's, I don't know, from the 90s.
All right.
Yeah.
I could see you doing any of those things that you want to do.
Yeah, no, I think I really want to be a tour manager. I would think I would love to get on a bigger tour and be a production coordinator, just to see how those larger tours with, say, I don't know, 10 buses or just like 5, 12, 13 semi-trucks work and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing.
Oh, yeah, I know. But I would love to be involved in one of those tours to educate myself, and also just bring my own work ethic and my own upbeat personality to the table, because I feel like that would be a good tour and experience for me to be on. But that's kind of, I think, maybe the next step. But the long game is I I don't know. I've thought about probably just buying property within the next couple of years, maybe in Asheville where my parents live, and because that's also close to my family, my niece and nephew, and I don't know. I'd probably have to work at like a management house if I wanted to make the transition back from being on the road to being at home.
Oh, being like a manager for a band?
We'll just work at a management company first and learn the ropes because it's a different ball game. Mm-hmm. But or working at some place where they do all the tour advancing, but you still go out on the road sometimes, but mainly you're at home. I don't know.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
The world is open to Mary.
The world is everyone's oyster.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's been a real pleasure for me to meet you, and you've been a joy to be around. Except for in the mornings.
Oh,
that's okay. Not everybody's happy in the mornings. It's all right.
Well, that just means you guys are more like family than not.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's been a wonderful, it's been a great tour, and everybody is wonderful. I've been really happy to be on this tour with everybody, including you.
Yeah, this has been a good tour. I enjoy this tour. I enjoy everybody on this tour. They're all fun. Well,
I think that we've told people about you, and you've educated everybody on what a merchandise person does and the VIP thing is. This is, that stuff's all important. It's all important. I mean, look, they don't have a merch person and a VIP person on this just for fun.
I know.
They have it because you're helping make them money, and that's...
There's no small
if there's
roles.
No money, there's no tour.
It's just small people.
Yes.
Like me.
Well, you got anything else that you'd like to say, Mary?
I can't think of anything.
It's okay.
So I'll just say, thank you, Ross, for having me
All right.
on the show.
So you do have a sweet voice. Maybe you'll end up being a big singer anyway.
Yeah, maybe. Or a tiny one who sings big.
Yes. I didn't mean stature.
That's all right. I did. All right, thank you,
Mary.
Ross.
Well, we're going to say goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks, Mary.
Bye. Love you. Miss you so much.
The Rossaround Backstage podcast wants to thank my good friend, Tim Hines, for the original music that you are listening to now. We are currently looking for sponsors for the Rossaround Backstage podcast so that we can continue to bring you interesting stories like the one you just heard. I can be reached through Facebook or email me at rosspallone.com. Thank you for listening.